Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking all about spoon fishing for walleyes. And we're going to be sitting down with Brad Hawthorne, and he's going to break down a few of his favorite spoons, as well as some great tips that'll help you catch more walleyes this winter on spoons. So stay tuned, we got some good stuff, and I do want to give you some forewarning in this very first clip. Just one clip, we do have some wind noise, so if you can bear through that, you're going to get a lot of great information and value from this video. So first things first, Brad is going to break down some of his go-to spoons, starting off with the Buckshot spoon.
If you are looking to fish higher, which is what I do a lot of the times on Mille Lacs, the Buckshot spoon is the perfect spoon to fish higher in the water column, 2, 3, 4 feet up, so those fish can see it, and then it's got an audible rattle in there to call them into. So if you're fishing like a flat or an expanse with nothing in it, and fish are just using it as a highway, they see that spoon up there, they hear the rattle, they see the bait on it, and they come up and hit it. And that comes in a multitude of different colors, sizes, and weights for whatever application you're going to use. Mille Lacs, we're using 1/8 and quarters usually, but you can get all the way up to 3/8. So keep that in mind. That's how I use the Buckshot spoon. I'm not saying I won't slam that on the bottom every once in a while, but generally when I'm fishing a Buckshot spoon, I'm fishing it pretty high in the water column.
Next up, another one of Brad's go-to spoons during the winter for walleyes is the Forage Minnow spoon.
Now for the Forage Minnow spoon, that one I'm usually fishing a little bit lower. If I find that the fish are really negatively reacting to rattles, that's when I'll go to the Forage Minnow spoon. Now that spoon is one of my favorite spoons because it's light, it's fluttery, you can, again, tons of different colors, and it allows you to fish that 1 to 3 foot really effectively with the same colors when you were fishing higher with the Buckshot.
Another one of Brad's favorites is the Forage Minnow Jig.
Now this is one of those secrets that I didn't really want to let people onto. I had Nick Linder out with me last winter and kind of showed him how we fish that Forage Minnow Jig. And that Forage Minnow Jig, when you put a full minnow on that thing and you're jigging it and you flop it on the bottom, it lays perfect with the hook pointed up. And with that minnow still alive, it sits there and wiggles around, and the fish will just drill it right on the bottom. Or when you pick it right up, that minnow will freak out and they just slam it. That is one of those things where I show my customers how to use the Forage Minnow Jig correctly, and we put a lot more fish on top of the ice. So if the fish are a little off, if they're a little sluggish, but they're still hitting spoons, go to the Forage Minnow Jig and start catching walleyes. And remember, bottom contact with that. Sometimes I'll let it sit on the bottom for 20 or 30 seconds with the Forage Minnow Jig.
Last but not least, Brad's going to talk a little bit about why he likes the brand new Buckshot Coffin spoon.
Now that is a new spoon that is a super heavy. That thing, if you're banging that thing on rocks, that thing's gonna make a lot of noise, and it's got a pretty good action to it to where it's got a lot of flash to it. Again, comes in a great number of colors, and that's one where I'll insert the Coffin Minnow spoon kinda in between my lineup of Forage Minnow spoon and Buckshot, to where it's got a lot of flash to it, it's got a lot of noise to it, with the split ring on there and the treble. And at times, that's where I'll insert that one. It's a great spoon for Lake of the Woods. It's a great spoon for Mille Lacs. So out of those 4 spoons, guys, be sure if the fish aren't biting the way you want to, a lot of the times, it's not the fish, it's the spoon you're using.
So that's a quick rundown on Brad's go-to favorite ice fishing spoons for walleyes. But the question still remains, when do you use this one? When do you use that one? When are the times and places that he's using each of these 4 spoons?
So picking the right spoon right off the get-go, okay? You get out there, no matter how you're finding fish, whether that's with Humminbird Live or 360 or however, you've identified that there's fish there, and now you're gonna start targeting them. What I use as my bench line when I'm hole hopping is, if I mark a fish, if I drop my deucer down for my Helix 7, drop it down, and there's a fish 1.5 to 2 feet off the bottom, well, I know that fish is searching for food. So that's when I'll instantly go to a Coffin spoon or a Buckshot, because if the fish is already up that high, I know he'll come at least double that high to grab a spoon, and it generally means they're more aggressive. So more aggressive means you can get away with rattles, bigger baits, and bigger profile spoons. Now, if I'm drop the deucer in the hole and the fish are right tight to the bottom, that's when I'll go to the Forage Minnow Jig or Forage Minnow spoon and start working tighter to the bottom. So it's all where it starts with that baseline of where you initially mark the fish. You know, again, that's a baseline. Sometimes fish can be on the bottom and you can get them to come up and smack that lure 3.5 feet up, you know, off the bottom. Sometimes you can't. There's always, I call it a commitment line. There's always a line of where the fish will come up to and then say nuh-uh. And that's what you're always trying to find with your spoons.
Now here is a really super tiny little tip that'll help you catch more walleyes with spoons this winter.
So my tried and true for years at seminars, if you guys ever come to them, I always have to mention this because people don't do it. Don't use swivel snaps right here. Get that out of there, delete that out of there. Swivel snaps are not for ice fishing, in my opinion. You don't add, all you're doing is adding bulk to your spoon, and you don't want to do that. What I use is a Northland quick clip right there, and that is easy change spoons. I can change spoons in a couple seconds. Now I go, this is a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I go to a number 12 ant swivel right there. This right here is the reason why I get bit and some people don't, is because when I stop my spoon, it stops dead. It doesn't sit there and twist. This little swivel right here takes all your line twist out. So if there's one thing to take away from this setup is remember that tiny little ant swivel, because if you're actively jigging spoons, it's instantly taking that line twist out every time you jig.
Now an important aspect of fishing spoons for walleyes is being geared up correctly, and one thing that people don't talk a ton about is the rods. So Brad is gonna run through real quick which kind of rods that he likes to use for spoon fishing, specifically talking about length.
So rods for spoon fishing. When I'm inside the otters, 28 to 32. Kind of depends on how big of a person you are, how far the holes are, but 28 to 32 inches. And that's medium fast is the action I like on those. When I'm outside standing hole hopping, it's gonna be 36 to 40 inches. Like right here, we're hole hopping today, this is a 38 precision power. So keep that kind of in your bag of tricks. You know, when you're spoon fishing, you're not gonna go buy a 38-inch rod and use that inside of a, you know, your wheelhouse. So what I like to do is have 2 or 3 different lengths of spoon fishing rods. A 28 for when you're in a one-man portable, 32 for when you're in a 2-man, and then when you're outside fishing, 36 to 40-inch rods. So kind of keep that in mind when you're rod shopping too.
Special thanks to Brad for sharing the info. Winter is just around the corner and I am absolutely jacked. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more content coming up in the months ahead. And until next time, we will see you in the next one.